Open roads, epic scenery, death-defying hikes, and Insta-worthy views for days. Sound like your cup of tea? Or coffee? Or bubble milk tea? Whatever it is that you drink. Well, you're in luck because this is your guide to planning the ultimate Utah road trip. If you're flying into Utah like we did, you're gonna wanna fly into Salt Lake City. In our opinion, there's not much to do and see in the city itself, so you probably don't need more than a day here. Most people will recommend seeing Temple Square. Unfortunately, it was under construction while we were there, so we didn't really get to see it. We recommend getting outside of the city. But before you do, you should check out Red Iguana, which is some of the best Mexican food we've ever had. Red Iguana had over 6,000 reviews on Google Maps. It lived up to the hype. Other than that, we recommend getting outside of the city. Just an hour-and-a-half drive west are the Bonneville Salt Flats. This might be the most underrated spot on our trip. An old salt lake dried up, leaving salt deposits for miles. You can drive down on the flats, take some pictures. And out here at the Salt Flats, the only thing to review is this salt coming at you. Ugh. And try your hand at breaking some of the speed records. Apparently, world speed records have been broken out on the flats. We tried to race our rental car and barely broke 80 miles an hour. What a rush. We recommend catching it around sunset. You can really get some stunning photos. Another spot even closer to Salt Lake City is Antelope Island State Park. Now this one has an entry fee, so make sure you bring 10 to 20 bucks with you just to have it on hand. We don't really know why it's called Antelope Island because the vast majority of animals on the island are buffalo, but there are some deer and some types of antelope too. So you basically drive around, do these hikes, see the different animals, and that's Antelope Island State Park. You're probably asking like we did, how in the world did these animals end up on an island? Well, that's a great question. Apparently this guy wanted to restore the buffalo herd that was present on these plains in the past. And so he got a few, they started to multiply on this island, and now you have Antelope Island State Park. Buffalo Island State Park is what it should be called, but anyway, don't spend your full day here. We recommend doing a half day here and a half day at the Salt Flats. As far as accommodations in Salt Lake City, there are plenty, but they're also expensive because it is a city. We recommend going with an Airbnb. That's what we did. We got one that was super cheap, so we could wake up early the next morning and head to Arches National Park. If you look up Arches National Park on Google, you'll probably see the iconic Delicate Arch. However, this is just one of a dozen arches that you can hike to in the park. We got a tip on Instagram to get inside the park before 7 a.m. and you could get in for free. Turns out it's true. Now, if you're not a morning person, that's completely understandable, but if you're a budget traveler like we are, we think it's totally worth it to wake up early and go on this hike. Make sure you bring some headlamps or a flashlight because you're hiking through the dark and there are some pretty steep drop-offs. We saw them once we were walking back down and the sun was already up and we were like, whoa, we were walking beside some cliffs. Now here is where Amanda and I messed up and we hope you will learn from our mistake. There are 3 more larger hikes in the park and Amanda and I decided to do them all in one day. We do not recommend that at all. It is exhausting. We recommend giving yourself at least 2, if not 3 days in Arches. The combination of all the hikes and the direct sunlight, the heat, the lack of water, which brings up a side note, there are only a few like water fill-up stations in Arches once you get in the park, so just bring plenty of water in so you'll be set and hydrated. The other arch hikes we recommend are Double O, the Windows, and Broken Arch. If you grab a map on your way into the park, you should be able to find each one of these. There's 2 restaurant recommendations we have for the little city of Moab. The first is a diner called Moab Diner, and the second is a pizza place called Zach's. As far as accommodations, we found it cheaper to go with a motel in Moab. It was cheaper than the Airbnbs and some of the hotels there. Again, just depends on your preference. It had a bed, a shower, water. That's all we needed. Moab was fun.
Moab was fun.
I'd come back.
Yeah.
Maybe get dune buggies next time. All right, off the next one. The next day we drove to Monument Valley. Now, unfortunately, because of COVID, Monument Valley is currently closed. However, we have seen pictures of it. If it's open by the time you get going out there, we recommend going through. It looks epic. We ended up going to something nearby called Forrest Gump Hill.
I had run for 3 years, 2 months, 14 days, and 16 hours.
I'm getting pretty tired now. Amanda, you mind driving?
We then made our way down into Arizona. You may be thinking, why would you head to Arizona on a Utah road trip? Well, one of my top 5 favorite views I've seen in my time traveling is right over the border into Arizona, and it's called Horseshoe Bend.
This is one of the prettiest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
You've probably seen a picture of it on Instagram, but I can tell you, it does not do it justice. This thing is magnificent. The sheer size will blow your mind. We saw it both at sunrise and sunset. We definitely recommend sunset. It's just better lighting. And if you do spend the night, look for accommodations in Page, Arizona. That's the closest town. And hands down, the best food we ate on our trip was at this place called the Birdhouse. The Birdhouse is like this really good fried chicken that just, I can't talk about it right now. I am literally getting so hungry just talking about it.
We're about to leave Page, Arizona and head toward Bryce Canyon National Park.
At Bryce, we decided to go ahead and get an annual park pass. You see, every time you go to a national park, it's around 35 bucks. The annual pass is 80, so if you go to at least 3 national parks, it pays for itself. So we went ahead and got it, headed into Bryce. Bryce Canyon is famous for these things called hoodoos. Now, the best way I know to explain this is when you make a drip sandcastle, it's that formation. They're like these big columns of rock. The coolest hikes here are Sunrise to Sunset Loop, Queen's Garden, and Wall Street. They're moderate intensity, but fairly short. I think you can get all of them done in one day. That's what we did. And once you've seen one hoodoo, you've seen them all.
Oh my gosh, the hail. That is crazy. So it also hails in the desert? Did you know that?
I had no idea. I was coming down and I was looking at the trail and I was like, those aren't the rocks.
Now, Bryce doesn't have any great accommodations unless you want to fork over your life savings. So we decided to stay in a little town between Bryce and Zion, which is where we were going the next day.
I feel like a kid again, like summer nights that never end.
The last national park, and probably the reason we decided to do this Utah road trip, is Zion National Park. Now, before I jump into Zion, I should say a word about how you get into these national parks with this COVID season we're in. At Arches and Bryce, you could go right up to the national park office, give them your 35 bucks or flash your annual park pass. They let you right in. Now, I think there is like a limit at a certain point during the day, so make sure you get there early or you might not get in because of max capacity. At Zion, you also have to pay the 35 bucks or have your annual park pass, but you also have to have a Zion shuttle ticket. Now, the shuttle tickets aren't expensive. That's not the big deal. The shuttle tickets are only $1, but you have to reserve them months in advance. I think like 3 months in advance if you definitely want it, or the month before if you want to try to get it. However, there is an option for people like us who decide and plan these things so last minute. So Zion holds on to a number of these tickets for you on a first come first served basis the morning before you want to go in.
9 a.m. the day before you're going, a bunch of tickets become available. Not a bunch, a few tickets become available. And if you click on there, you can get them. And Amanda and I just got them.
I can't believe that.
We're going to Zion.
And fortunately, we were able to get in every morning. It was a huge blessing. Now, I don't recommend doing that. If you have the option to, make sure you plan out months in advance. Otherwise, you can try what we did, but there's no guarantee to get in. Now for Zion. So the park visitor center fills up pretty fast. I think every morning we were there, it was already full. So we recommend parking in the nearby town of Springdale. You can do like a pay per lot, and we just pay for a full day. It was like 10, 15 bucks. Totally worth it. You can leave your car there, then walk into the visitor center, jump on the shuttle that'll take you up to these different hikes. The two must-do hikes are the Narrows and Angel's Landing. The Narrows is a hike in a river through a narrow canyon. For this hike, we recommend going early in the morning to give yourself plenty of time, and be sure to pack water shoes and hiking poles. You will slip constantly. Now, we only wore tennis shoes, but we had hiking poles and we were perfectly fine. We picked up the hiking poles at a Walmart on the way into Zion. The hiking poles are the real game changer, because even if you lose your footing, you can stab those in the ground, establish a good footing, make it through the hike. Super awesome views. We highly recommend the Narrows. There was like a bacteria in the water while we were there. I think we'll be okay. It's fine, we didn't drink it. We're still here. The other hike we recommend, and it's one of the bucket list ones, is Angel's Landing. It's the view you see on every Zion postcard. It's this hike along the spine of a mountain, and then you get this like 360-degree view of the whole valley. Now, Angel's Landing is just the last portion of a larger hike that includes Walter's Wiggles and Scout's Lookout. The views from these are spectacular enough, but we recommend, if you're up for it, doing the Angel's Landing portion. They have these chains along the way that you can hold on to. We never felt like we were gonna fall off the side. You just need to make sure you establish your footing as you're trekking along the spine. We recommend at least 3 days in Zion. There's just so much to do and see, plus you won't have enough time to do the major hikes in just a day. On our last day, we took some time just to drive around the park, take in some different views. When we felt like we had seen all of Zion, we looked on a map to see if there was anything last minute around the park we wanted to see. And we saw that there was these coral pink sand dunes. Sounded interesting enough, so we checked them out. They're about an hour drive from the park, so plan accordingly. These things, like the salt flats, were totally underrated. They're just these massive sand dunes with people sandboarding, dune buggying, all kinds of stuff. We'll probably do both those things the next time we go back. Actually, one guy did let me try out his sandboard at the end of the day.
Thank you so much, man. My name's Clay. I'm okay at snowboarding, but this seems a lot different. Right on?
Right on.
Now, once you get to Zion, the closest airport is Las Vegas, so that's where we booked our tickets home. We took a day just to romp around the Vegas Strip, check out some cool local sites, and then we boarded our plane back home. So those are our recommendations to planning the ultimate Utah road trip. Now, I know there's probably some questions, so make sure you comment below and I'll try to respond to as many of those as I can, but I'll try to address some of those now. I think one of the questions will be, why didn't we go to the other 2 national parks in Utah? There's the Big 5, and we left out Canyonlands and Capitol Reef. Well, people told us that Canyonlands and Capitol Reef look like a combination of Arches, Bryce, and Zion. And so with just a week, we had to maximize what we could see, and we want to see like the coolest things. So we didn't want to go to places that looked really similar. We felt like we knocked out the biggest things by seeing Arches, Bryce, and Zion. So we were happy with that. I think the second question will be, why didn't you go to other cities in Utah? And to be honest, Amanda and I don't love cities. We feel like once you've seen a couple cities, you know, you've seen them all. And plus, we just don't like spending a lot of money just eating food on a trip. We wanted to be out in nature. You know, COVID has had us cramped up inside. We wanted to be out in nature, exploring, taking in some fresh air. So that's why we didn't go to other cities. But if you do recommend some cities, maybe on our second time through, we'll check them out. So comment those below also. So if you like this video, make sure you like it, comment below with any of your questions, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this, and good luck planning your trip to Utah.